Hi all, we're going to look at the very exciting game from the World Championship played yesterday. Kramnik was white, Anand was black. Game 3. Kramnik kicked off with d4 and Anand chose his super solid Slav defence, but this time we didn't see the exchange variation of the Slav, which would have been quite dull potentially and boring, but instead we saw a really explosive attacking game emerge. So how did it emerge? First Kramnik played e3, and now after knight bd7 bishop d3 was played. So it's a solid triangle for black, and the Slav is gaining, great popularity. So in this variation the bishop is temporarily hemmed in on c8. So how is that liberated? Well, black's plan here is to first take on c4 and expand on the queen side by gaining a tempo on that bishop, and now playing b5, so expanding on the queen side. Potentially the bishop's got a good square on b7, and it can help coordinate an attack on white's king side, as this game demonstrated quite fully. So after bishop d3, a6 was played, first reinforcing b5 and now being able to play c5. So after e4, c5, and this is highly theoretical though, after e5, c takes d4, both sides are giving away a knight now. They're exchanging knights in effect. So after knight takes b5, a takes, white sacrificed the knight and dented black's queenside pawn structure. There's only one pawn left, and is black, going to defend that pawn passively? Well, in this game he didn't. After e takes f6, Anand played g takes f6, and we see now this potential for the g file to be used for an attack. After castles, queen b6, and now further pressure exerted on b5 and also e6. So is Anand going to just defend that pawn, which I believe is the theoretical move, to play something like bishop a6 or rook b8, maybe the theoretical moves. What he did do was apparently a novelty, or rarely played, so bishop b7. It seems to me a logical move though, to coordinate the attack on the g file. White played now bishop takes b5, and now we see bishop d6. So Anand doesn't mind bishop takes d7. Let's have a quick look. If bishop takes d7, the king in the centre is not really an exploitable weakness. For example, rook d1, rook g8, and already, white's feeling a lot of pressure now on his king. If rook takes d4, bishop takes, rook takes d6, queen takes, black is just the exchange up, and after queen d5, will easily be able to defend this position and win, from being an exchange up. So basically, after bishop d6, rook d1 was played. So is Anand concerned about his king safety? What is he going to do? Well, he did actually just play rook g8, and now Kramnik played g3. So potentially, black has a plan of h5, h4 to further undermine the white king side. And look at these two bishops raking down. It's a beautiful position to have. It seems to be a very nice attacking position. And Anand basically has a problem though, his d-pawn. How is he going to defend his d-pawn? If he plays e5, his king's still in the centre, so I think this is hopeless. Knight takes d4, and Anand's getting smashed. So there's a precarious balance between this being an attacking position and a losing position. So what Anand did now was protect that d-pawn by playing rook g4. But also rook g4 reserves the possibility of h5, h4, further undermining the white king position and king safety. Bishop f4 was played, and this seems to be a very clever move. So white's temporarily sacrificing a whole bishop. But what is he going to do in this position about his queenside pieces and development? Look at all black's pieces. They're getting quite menacing. If h5, h4 is played, as well as king e7, rook g8, white's had it. The two rooks, the two bishops, they're all ganging up on his king. So white has to do something. So this is a clever piece sacrifice, which seems to give white a lot of promising chances now. I don't know if this was in Anand's preparation for this novelty of bishop b7, but it seemed quite dangerous for the black position. Anyway, Anand took on f4, and after knight takes d4, so he's temporarily a piece up, but his rook is threatened. Knight takes e6 is threatened, which would unleash the rook on d7. So d7 is his vulnerability, which that bishop is also attacking. So there's a coordination of attack here, basically, between rook and bishop. So what is Anand going to do? What he does do is let white take on d7 in effect. He plays h5, letting knight takes e6 happen. And after f takes e, rook takes d7, he simply played king f8. So he's simply shifting his king toward the king side, where it's a little bit more away from white's attacking pieces, especially this bishop on b5. So now Kramnik played queen d3. It's seemingly a very strong move. What he did play was rook g7, so he's swapping off that dangerous rook on the 7th and accepting the fact that he might be 2 pawns down, but he's going to have dynamic compensation on the g file, and at least these two pieces will be working very well together as a team against white's king. Now rook d8 was played, and after queen e2, now king h6, so protecting that h5 pawn, and also allowing now rook g8. So this is quite a dangerous attack, even with these pieces which are remaining. Kramnik evacuated now with king f8, and after rook g8, played a4. So he doesn't want black to be able to play queen c6 perhaps. He's supporting the bishop, and maybe this a pawn is going to be more dangerous if it can be pushed further down the board. Also there's the potential of white playing rook a3 to g3. So a4 is quite a multi-purpose move. But Anand proved it wasn't enough. He played first bishop g2, and after king e1, he now played bishop h3. It seems to be, white's in a dangerous position. He plays rook a3, which was one of the points of playing a4. But now, after rook g1 check, black has a ferocious attack. His queen's coming in to d4. And after king c2, after bishop g4, f3 was played. And now after bishop f5, bishop d3. Now here, everyone was definitely screaming out for bishop takes d3, and it does seem a lot more clear cut for winning. Let's have a look at this. Bishop takes d3 check, rook takes d3, and this is a massive advantage for black, because after queen c4, if rook c3 then queen takes e2, and if king d2 then queen c1 is mate. So this just seems to be a simple tactical move, this bishop takes d3 check. I think both players were in severe time pressure. What Anand did play was still winning. After bishop f5, bishop d3, Anand played bishop h3, so he's basically threatening rook g2, skewering the queen against the king. However, Kramnik now pushed his a pawn forward, creating the tension of the idea, is this a pawn going to save white? So after rook g2, now a6. Is there enough time for this a pawn to queen? Well, Anand proved there wasn't. He took the queen. Now bishop f5 check, queen e3 check, so he's not giving white any time to move that pawn any more forward. King a2, now queen takes e2. Okay, taking a little bit of time to munch the bishop. And after a7, he plays now queen c4 check. King a1, he still keeps checking now with queen f1 check. After king a2, now bishop b1 check. Now here, if king a1, then this is a mating 2, bishop c2 and queen b1 is mate. Now if Anand had moved the king out, so say king b3, queen b5 check, king c3, queen c5, king b3, queen c2, king b4, and now queen takes b2. So this is crushing, because once the rook moves, queen d4 check and picking up the pawn at the very least. So basically, after that bishop b1 check, white resigned. So a very nice win in the third game. Let's have a look at that final position. Bishop b1 check, and white resigned. Let's have a look in overview and summary at this game. So it was a Slav defence, which led to black having a great coordinated attack against white's king, but leaving his king precariously in the centre. So there was some high precision moves by black to make sure he wasn't getting destroyed himself in the centre. So rook g4, and this was a very good temporary piece sacrifice to keep white's chances alive. Otherwise black would simply have built up with king e7, rook g8, h5 and h4. So Anand took the piece sack and gave the piece back now on d7. And here further traded down, so just 2 pawns down, he kept his pressure and didn't mind the material deficit. So the pressure persisted, and when both players are in time pressure, the person who's attacking the king is often the winner. So this was the case in this game. After king e1, bishop h3, So with multiple threats of like rook g1 and bishop g4, so white played rook a3, a seemingly cunning, defensive move. But after the check, queen d4, it seems that white's still in a lot of trouble. King c2 and now bishop g4. A lovely move actually, weakening white's second rank, provoking f3. So after f3, bishop f5 check was also very strong. But now, instead of bishop takes d3 check, which everyone was expecting, bishop h3 was played, which is still a very strong move and winning. After winning the white queen, black doesn't give white too much time to queen the pawn now. He keeps checking the white king, and it will be decisive after this bishop b1 check. So a very exciting third game. Please leave any comments on YouTube. Thanks very much.